All right, so we'll go ahead and get started for today. Thank you guys for joining us. This is the top 10 blunders. Escrow teams with which agents would avoid. We have Janelle Kiefer here. If those of you that maybe just saw a link and join in, I'm Andrea Wilson. I've been in the real estate industry for over 20 years, working now as a mortgage loan officer with Liberty Home Mortgage. So I'm helping a lot of clients and agents get their clients to the closing table for all of your pre-approvals, fast, great customer service experience. So thank you for joining in. I'm typically trying to provide some sort of training for you guys at least once a month. And so this is this month's topic. And so we have Janelle here joining us. I'm going to turn it over to her and let her get started. I don't know, something happened here. 1 second. Gotta love technology. There we go. Oh, you're on mute.
I apologize. You're going to see me about 3 times in 3 different places here, but
Right.
I know this topic. We're
Okay.
good. So Andrea, thank you so much for having me, everybody. So I work for Ohio Real Title, but this translates across all title and escrow. And it's what escrows, if they were sitting next to me, what they would want you to know to make sure that the transaction goes nice and smooth. So we'll go with top 10, 10 at the least most important and down to the number one. So Andrea, I don't know if you can do the first screen. Thank you. Okay, so this is very imperative. Not knowing who is in title. Okay, when you have a listing, it's critical to know who is actually on the deed. But how do you know that? What you do is you order a tax and legal from me or from another title company. Not every title company has this service. However, you can ask them for a deed because it's public record. So, your solution for Ohio will title be order a tax and legal. And what that does, it shows us a sales history. It provides you the comps, the taxes, the legal description, and the deed. And that is who actually owns the house and who has the rights to sell those house. Okay. In this actually, guys, if you're ordering a tax and legal, it looks so sharp when you go to a listing presentation and you can say, hey, look at this beautiful report I put together for you. We did it, has your picture on it, and it takes us an hour to like within an hour, you'll get it back. Okay. Get it back. Yep. Second, yeah. Second, I am definitely, I'm echoing.
Yes.
All right, guys. If we can get to the next one, and I'm going to try to get out of here. I apologize, team. All right, not having the necessary documents. Okay. So what's really important also is to ask and collect. So if we're discussing with a client who is on the title, you need to make sure that we have everybody's information. Okay. And so what we do there, but we ask for estate docs, trusts, LLCs, divorce decrees, probate docs, death certificates, power of attorneys, or transfer and death designation affidavits. What that is showing us again who is in title and who is actually able to sell on behalf of the owner of the property. Okay. So for instance, if you're, oh, that's okay. We'll go back. We'll go to quick closes. That's fine. Another thing, title escrow really wishes that you knew, and what you did is that be intentional with your close dates. Okay. So if you have a cash buyers think that they can get a deal done within 2 days. That's not the case. We still have to do a title exam. If anything comes up, those liens have to be cleared. Am I still echoing, Andrea? I feel like I'm in Star Wars right now, and I'm trying to figure this out without disconnecting from you.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure this out real quick because this could be very frustrating, and I don't want this to be frustrating for everybody. All right, well, we will figure that out. Okay. So when somebody asks about a cash close, especially during busy season, we say 10 days, 10 to 12 days. That is not calendar days, that's business days. So you're going to take away the weekends and you're going to take away holidays. Now that's different from what your contract is. Your contract are calendar days. So remember that. So if you're sitting with a buyer or seller and they're like, yeah, I got cash, I can close this in 2 days. You say, well, the title company still has to prepare the deed, make sure you're going into a clear title. So give us at least 10 to 12 business days, Monday through Friday. Those are the days we're looking at. If finance, ask the lender first. So Andrea probably can attest to this. If all parties want to close early, they sometimes ask title prior to then asking you as a loan officer. When really the lenders are the ones that dictate the close date. Yep. So make sure you ask them first. Okay, next. End of the month closings. And please let me slow down if you need me to, because there's a lot of information, but you can also think of scenarios where this would really resonate with you. So if you are scheduling closings for the end of the month, just be aware that everybody else and their mother and brother is trying to close at the end of the month. So it could delay. So that's first. So be conscious of your busiest times of the month and the week. So for instance, if you wanted to close at the end of May, which is a huge popular closing weekend because it's Memorial Day weekend for the most part. Let's see, Memorial Day is on the 25th. Yep, the 31st is actually the last weekend. But if they want to close on Memorial Day, right there you have a holiday weekend and then you have a holiday on Monday. So really be conscious of talking to your buyer and seller and say, listen, I understand you want to close with a long weekend, but let's try to close on a Tuesday or Wednesday, because what that does is it gives your escrow team enough time if, let's say, the lender's delayed, or if we don't have a point of sale certification, to work with all parties to still close prior to that close date or that weekend. Does that make sense? Okay. Also know, in addition to the holidays, Friday is the busiest day of the week that everybody wants to close because of the weekend. I would always, if you can help it, try closing on a Wednesday or Thursday. That gives you time. If you represent the buyer, it gives you that cushion that if they already, have a moving truck ready to go, that they don't have to cancel it because it was on Friday. They can just say, hey, let's push it back a day. Or on the seller side, there might be issues funding, and not necessarily issues, but delay. Because again, we're working with that business week. So if you close on a Friday after 1 p.m. with most title companies, we won't disperse until Monday, the following business day, because that's still considered 24 hours. So if your seller, sometimes there's sellers that don't want to transfer keys until they have funds in their bank. We tell them it's closed, but you can't, sometimes sellers are a little, I understand. You want to make sure that you are intentional with not closing on a Friday because they may not get their funds till the following Monday. And that is especially during busy season in the summer. Any questions? No? Okay. We can go to the next one. Oh, goodness.
And
Not
just
collect.
a comment, I'm sorry, you guys, if
Please.
you do have any questions, you can go ahead and put it in the chat. I am monitoring the chat. When we get to the end, I will allow you to turn your mic on so you can ask the questions as well.
Awesome. Okay. This one, not collecting earnest money on time. I never point the finger and say that's not our job because I hate that term. However, we don't track down buyers. I mean, if you ask me to, if Andrew's like, Janelle, then I will totally do it. But we don't. So as selling agents, you need to make sure that you are on top of your buyer. So here's a cool thing about Ohio Real Title. We have an ACH earnest money tool on our website. So if you go to ohiorealtitle.com for earnest money deposits, 10,000 or below, they can use our ACH tool. It's free. Other title companies charge 15 bucks, and I think they go through like earnest.com. This actually is through our Fifth Third account. So we eat that little transaction cost, and we do not apply that to your buyer. So if they're like crunch time, last minute, like we talked about, those calendar dates count on a contract versus business days, go to ohiorealtitle.com, click on earnest money. I also have introductory emails that if you ever want me to send directly to your buyer, I can do that with instructions. Now, a buyer can also do a check, cashier's check, or money order. The thing with a cashier check and money order is if they lose it, that money is gone. So you got to be very careful. With any title company, if they're writing a personal check, it would go to that title company. So payable to Ohio Real Title. And what we would ask is for your buyer to put it in the memo section, the address that they're purchasing. Then this way they can drop it off at any Ohio Real Title office because we're not a franchise. We all work together like one big web, but we're all over Northeast Ohio. So if you have somebody downtown, go for it. You have somebody out in Hudson, fine. Doesn't matter where your escrow team is. Anything over $10,000 when it comes to earnest money has to be electronically wired. And let me tell you, you cannot cheat and do two, let's say you have a $20,000 earnest money. Do not do two $10,000 ACH transfers. You can do it from the system, but it goes against the Ohio Good Funds Law. So don't do it. So you want to make sure is that you get wire instructions from us and make sure that they are encrypted because hijackers and fraudsters are very sophisticated and we can't retrace that money. The Department of Insurance makes us offer closing protection coverage, but it doesn't cover sending money to a fraudulent account. Okay, yeah, I know. So $10,000 must be wired. They have to go into their bank. It's usually like a $35 charge, and they would send the wire. Now, when it comes to closing funds, let's say they only have to bring 10,000 to the closing table. Still has to be wired. Okay, because an ACH transfer that you have for your earnest money, it is basically like an online check. So we have to wait 5 days to make sure those funds are in your account, not yours, your buyer's account. And then it's cool. If there is not funds, we'll get a delinquency notice and then we'll let you guys know. But think about this. If you have a really quick close, let's say you have a 10-day close and your buyer kind of dragged their feet and got it in within 5 days, they have to wire that money because it's not actual. It's not realized. So that's why when you have closing proceeds, even it could be $1,000, it could be $100,000, has to be wired because that is an immediate transfer from their bank to our bank. Okay. Next one. Next one. I feel like I'm on auto tunes. Sorry. Okay, missing contact information. I don't know why this one is so prevalent. I will tell you, I've been here almost 10 years. I have not had a listing agent call a buyer's agent, and I've not had a buyer's agent call, a seller, call each other's clients. Okay, so if you're putting a purchase agreement on an order with all parties involved and you don't want to add their contact information, your clients, fine, don't. But please immediately follow up with phone number and email for your clients. Here's a reason. Number one, they get an introductory call from us. Not all title companies do that, so they're going to be getting a phone call. For the seller and buyer, they both getting pre-closing forms via Qualia. Qualia is our CRM system, and it immediately shoots out information for them to fill out. So if you're working, let's say, with an elderly client and they don't have an email and they don't want to go through Qualia, call me, I'll set up something. But for the majority, we need to get that information out immediately. On the seller side, we have to run that title exam like yesterday. So we can get that, see if there's any payoffs, any liens on the title. For the buyer, it's really important to have their email and phone number because we need to send those pre-closing forms to figure out how to get their deed created, how they want to go into title. And if we get those later in the process, then it's just a hurry up and we can make mistakes or something could be delayed. So please make sure you get your client information to us like immediately. Next. Okay, not disclosing or missing the ABA. So the beautiful part about Brick House, in addition to working with Andrea, is that we are partners through an ABA. What that means is I got your back, you have a direct client contact, but you also have to provide your ABA or affiliated business arrangement to your client. So basically, here's the script. Script is, Mr. Buyer, hi, I have a partnership with Ohio Real Title. We have a direct contact. We have an escrow team we work with. Please sign this document. If they say do you get money for that, you just say that our broker is in a partnership, but we also have direct contacts and a strong support system, which you can't say about every title company, okay? So it's a really quick way to negate any objections, and you have to have the ABA signed because if the state of Ohio goes and audits Venture, which is our ABA, and they pull a file and the brokerage's ABA is not in there, you guys get kicked out. And that's not good for anybody. So make sure you get that ABA signed, preferably when they sign the contract, the buyer agreement or the listing agreement. Okay. Incomplete or missing documents. This is something else that is just huge that escrow would be buzzing about. So escrow letters in Northeast Ohio is how you guys get paid. You would be surprised at how many times we don't receive escrow letters and it delays everything. So you want to get paid and your clients want their deals to close. So make sure you get your escrow letters in as soon as possible. If things change, that's fine. Just send us an amended one. Warranty invoices. So I don't know if you've worked with I'll just throw out America's Preferred Home Warranty or Andrea, who do you guys use mostly? APMA. Okay. They have two documents that look very, very similar. You have your your invoice, you have an invoice and you kind of an introductory ticket. Sometimes we get those tickets and it's not an invoice. So what that means, and it's not on your escrow letter. So if we don't get a warranty invoice, it's an actual invoice. Number one, your client's not going to get a warranty. Number two, you're not going to get, I think they send $50, I think, if you're using their warranty. So make sure you get the warranty invoice and not just the ticket. Repair receipts. So let's say you have an ROC, they come back, buyers come back and they want you to do some improvements or after an inspection. And when you're using a particular vendor, we might be holding money in escrow for those repairs. If we're holding it to pay the vendor directly, we need detailed receipts. If we're holding it in escrow and then to be released post-closing, that's a totally different story. Your clients will have to sign off once we release those funds. Another one is a change of date addendum. If you call your lender, you talk to Andrea, her team says that you guys can close quickly, then buyer and seller agree, then you let us know at title and get us that change of date addendum immediately. And I'll tell you why. We work chronologically. So if you send us a deal and it's supposed to close in 10 days, you better believe we're rushing that exam. If you're closing May 30th, but everybody agrees they want to move that date up to May 22nd, yeah, that's a Friday. Anyways, then You got to get everybody on board and then get us that addendum, or else it won't happen because escrow's not going to know. They're not going to know. And then it's going to be a file that's for the following week when really we wanted to push it up and everybody agreed to that. Okay. There's next. If there is a next. Yeah. Oh, this is a big one. I'm sitting here cracking myself up. I don't know. It's not fun, but it's fun information for me. So hopefully you guys are finding this fun. All right. Clear to close lingo. There are two different definitions. So this will save you so many emotions, and this will save your buyer headaches. The lender will provide a clear to close to the buyer mostly before we get any notification. Basically says your loan's approved, don't go buying a car, just stop, just work, don't lose your job, just here, you're good. We will not get the clear to close until the lender team, they have all their documents together, then they send it to our team in a packet, like a closing packet, and then their team balances the settlement statement or the ALTA. Also, lender dictates the close date. So your client might get a clear to close 2 weeks ago, but we're closing this week. And you're wondering, well, is title dragging their feet? No, both of our teams, lender and title, we're working together based on the close date that the lender is providing us, and we will schedule accordingly. Okay, so remember, clear to close for your buyer, sweet, loan's good, don't do anything, literally stand like a statue, don't go to any stores. On our end, clear to close means we got the closing documents and it's time to schedule closing appointments. Okay, so I think that's good to know that the clear to close means two different things with two different parties of the same transaction. All you have to let your client know is, great, that is excellent news that you got your clear to close. You should be hearing from the title company soon based off that contract date. If they got the clear to close a few weeks ago, hey, that's excellent. Don't make any big purchases. Hold on to your job. You'll hear from the title company closer to close date. Okay? I don't know how many more we have left, Andrea. Oh, here we go. Moving close dates. I have talked about this 3 times. I guess it's very, very important, especially in the summer. Again, discuss close dates with buyer and write with intent, and you got to ask the title lender. And don't forget to ask the seller if they're willing to do that. Sometimes sellers are like, yeah, I want to get out of there. Sometimes sellers' deals are contingent upon the purchase of their next home. If that's the case, you might just have to sit tight, keep the close date as is, or like I said, check with both parties, check with lenders. We're your last to check with to make sure that we're on track to close. And then send us that addendum. And that's it. Any questions?
Thanks, Chanel. I'm going to switch you guys over. Well, before I do that, give me 1 second. I have a couple notes that I want to backtrack that she mentioned on here. So when she talks about the title information and contact, the same thing applies on the lending side and needing contact information, not necessarily from your buyer client because we would have done the pre-approval, but from the contact information for the title company that is on the actual contract. There's certain escrow teams a lot of times. So yeah, it might be Ohio Real Title. They may be working with Ohio Real Title. That list agent may have their own escrow team. So knowing who the point person is when we enter the system, the information into our system so that proper communication is going out to all parties. The same thing with the list agent, if you're representing the buyer, providing the listing agent's name, because a lot of times, there's a lot of agents that work on teams. So you may see the point person as the team lead, but not the actual agent they're working with, or a lot of them have transaction managers. So who all should be included on the contact stream so that we're all communicating, information is getting out, and that there's no delays with that. The other thing that she mentioned, well, she talked about the home warranty invoice. And same thing, making sure that you send that invoice over to your lender, because even though the seller may be paying for that home warranty invoice, as the lender, we still need that document. It actually gets included into like their loan estimate or their documents that go over to title. So title will see that. And the worst thing that can happen is you close on the home, the invoice was not sent over to title, the money was not collected from the seller, and the seller was supposed to pay for this. And now nobody finds out and knows until when a problem arises. The client knew that the contract was supposed to include this home warranty, and now they need to call a service person. And you don't want to be that agent that's like, oh, too bad. So a lot of times you may have to go into your own pocket to now pay for the warranty just to make something good, or just a lot of back and forth of trying to get the seller to now send over the money. And the other thing, last piece that I will say about that, some agencies will kind of treat the transaction as when it closes, it cuts off
Yeah.
communication, like their relationship to the transaction, they don't have any responsibility. So try to reach out to a list agent at that point, like, well, can I have your seller's contact information? And then they just kind of go silent, and then title can will have their contact information, but I'm sure they can't just provide that information, correct?
Right. I mean, sometimes we'll call on your behalf, but at the same time, like you said, the transaction has been closed. So it's a difficult conversation.
Yeah. All right, so that home warranty, making sure that also comes over to the lender and everyone is aware of that. Um, One of the suggestions that I have is like, who doesn't want to close early on a transaction? Sometimes you can't close early because the seller may need that time. They're planning to move out, or even your buyer needs some extended time they're trying to push out. But for the most part, everyone is excited about the transaction. You, as the real estate agent, is super excited. Who doesn't want to get paid earlier, right? And so, if we can, the goal is to close earlier. So if we have that clear to close early, I will reach out and say, hey, we're good to go. Do you guys want to close early when possible? But if you put language in your contracts, like right out the gate that just says close on or before whatever that contract date is, naturally, a lot of the contracts do not have that language in there. So if you kind of write that into the contract, that kind of gives us the green light to be able to close earlier. This is not a guarantee or a promise that you're going to close earlier, but it definitely is helpful. So now we don't have to worry about getting addendum signed, because buyer sign, now we got to send it to the seller's slow to sign, and that just slows things down. And again, any documents that are coming through has to go into underwriting, final approval, and it just delays or bogs down the system when that happens. And like Janelle was saying, communication is key. You want to reach out to the lender if parties are in agreement that they want to try to close a little earlier. Like this month is a great example of that because of the holiday. June 1st, I want to say, is like on a Monday. So if you just wrote a contract probably this week, your close date may have fallen on that June 1st date. I can guarantee that I'm going to get calls and people requesting that we want to close, including me. I want to close that last week of May. So you want to make sure that you're communicating that with the lender, with title, so everyone is on board, because like Janelle was saying, they have a system in order. They're closing these dates. If they didn't move that order up in their pipeline, they're still thinking like, okay, I have time on this one. They're going to prioritize all of those other contracts and files that are out there. Um, and then I just wanted to touch on, she talked about the CTC, the clear to close, and what that means. And so, yes, on the lender side of the transaction, we get up, the underwriting team says, we're good to go. We have that clear to close. That message then goes out to the agents, list agents, letting everyone know we officially have clear to close. But what that really means is my back office is finalizing numbers and balancing. They will reach out to title to schedule with title, but they're still balancing the final numbers. lender and title need to kind of work their numbers together to make sure that they match. As a lender, we have one set of numbers, right? But title provides the final numbers because there's things like a tax proration that may not be included, that maybe we couldn't include the tax proration on the lender side of the transaction. So where the buyer is thinking their cash to close is X amount, then when it gets over the title, they get this credit. And the buyer is excited, like, oh, I don't need that much cash out of pocket. And so the last thing that I will say about that, when we get into those final days, a lot of times the buyer is looking for final numbers. How much? I want to contact my bank. I want to know how much to wire. We do push those numbers out. Well, I mean, I guess I'm speaking on behalf of title, but title is really just waiting on lender and title to balance. We all want to get those numbers out as quickly as possible. And they're the ones to give those final numbers on there. And usually they're waiting on the lenders to say, yep, we're good to go on that. So just wanted to mention that. And then just that addendum. If you don't have that language in the contract to close on or before, you need an addendum for like everything, right? It's called CYA. And so we need those addendums to make sure that all parties were in agreement. It's not just a one-sided situation. So whenever you're changing the dates to a contract, whenever you're lowering the purchase price, the appraisal came back in lower, we need addendums to all of that. And the quicker you provide those documents, the more success that you will see in your transactions. So sitting on the information that we need an addendum for 2 to 3 days, just think about that. You withholding or sitting on that information and you decide to respond 2 to 3 days and not saying anything bad. We get it. Like you're busy, got a lot going on, and you're working to get to it. But I just want to put this on your mind and give a different perspective. Say you get the information on Monday that maybe the appraisal is low, or we need some sort of addendum, dates changing, right? And it takes you until Wednesday to get that document. Sometimes you're just waiting on the signature. Well, almost always those addendums have to get cleared through underwriting. So you get it over, depending on what time of day determines if anything happens with that. And then that document has to get submitted back into underwriting. So that's another 24 to 48 hours. So something that seems as easy as this one piece of paper addendum that you found out on Monday, we could drag this out by a week because by the time it comes back out of underwriting could be that Friday, depending when we have it. And so we're pushing this thing along. We want that clear to close. We can't issue a clear to close until these things are clear. And so we just burnt through it a week. So that may have killed your ability to close earlier on a file. So I just wanted to kind of share those little tidbits based on her slides here. I am going to start sending a message to convert you guys over to a panelist. You don't have to accept the request. This is just if you want to ask your question, or you can type it in the chat. But I definitely want to give you guys an opportunity to speak if you need to. Okay, I think I sent a request to everyone. There may be, oh, there is a question. When a buyer doesn't submit the earnest money, does title stop working the order until received?
No. And let me tell you, a couple of times, buyers or sellers, depending, like if there was a mutual release, have gotten burnt. So you have to be, like I said, we'll send out instructions and we send that out in your pre-closing forms for earnest money. You have to stay on your buyer and us to make sure that you get a receipt, which will automatically go through Qualia. But I'll tell you, we've had a couple situations where there's been a mutual release, meaning both parties want to be done with it, and the seller was supposed to get that money, but we never collected it. They never submitted it. So that's something that we don't monitor. We just encourage using our tool. So you don't want to eat that money. Your buyer may not eat that money, and then you're going to end up in small claim court. So we definitely keep going. Um, and if it's noticed, we'll let the agent know, like, hey, guys, I still haven't done that. But no, it doesn't stop.
Mhm. What happens on that mutual release if they can't nobody will sign or one of the parties won't sign the mutual release?
Oh, we never see that. Just kidding. We do. We see that a lot. So if they cannot agree, then it goes in escrow for like 2 years.
Mhm.
Then we reach out to buyer and seller again through a letter saying, are you sure you can't come to some resolution? And if not, we have another waiting period and then eventually go to the state. It's worth it. So just make sure that they're following the contract, because if a listing agent's asking us if a buyer did not submit an earnest money and they didn't, there are contracts and there are stickler listing agents that'll just back out of the contract. And if, yeah, it happens.
Just think they're about to build a new Brown Stadium on your client's earnest money.
It is not worth it. Let me tell you right now. No.
That's the unclaimed funds. That's how, money gets over to that unclaimed funds. But
Yeah.
just joking. Are there any other questions that you guys have? Okay. Well, I thought it was good information. Um, and refresher and just giving some good tips. These are all great ways to just little tidbits, just the reminders when you're writing a contract to have smoother transactions, smoother client experiences in there. So,
Yeah.
anything else you want to share, Janelle?
Hey, just call me. I am your resource, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. And just know at the end of the day, we're all working on the same team, wanting to get everything closed. So thanks for the opportunity, guys. Call anytime.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining in. As always, if you guys need any pre-approvals or anything, I'm here. Feel free to give your clients my contact information. Call me, text me. I'm available. Just want to talk about a scenario, need a second look for a client, or if you have a client that got denied, send them on over. I'm happy to have the conversation and willing to spend the time with them. So have a wonderful week. I believe my topic that I'm going to be doing next week is going to be on the AI tool called Claude.
Mm.
So more information to come out about that. I switched over from ChatGPT to Claude. I'll share why I did, the benefits to doing that. And so, everyone's on those AI tools and platforms. And so you want to learn how it can benefit you and your business. So again, if you have any questions, I'm here, I'm available. I look forward to speaking with you all and enjoy the rest of the week.
Thanks, Andrea.
Thanks, Janelle.
See ya.